Hello and welcome to Fat Belly Mark's Shed. I'm Stu and I'll be narrating on today's video. This project was inspired by my childhood school days. I used to buy a packet of polos every day and I just loved them. I made the mistake of telling the missus what I was making and she said she wanted a packet as well, but not in the traditional colours. She wanted shades of black to white with the word love instead of polo. Straight away my workload was doubled. So I'm going to make 2 oversized packets of artificial polos. I decided the traditional packet's design would be one dating from the 1970s and be made of wood veneer wrapped around a plastic tube. The second packet made of different coloured epoxy resin putty, also wrapped around a tube. For the polos themselves, I'd use a beech rolling pin for the traditional ones and white Corian, my favourite material, for the En Vogue pack. So let's get started on the wooden polos. I hope you watched the video all the way through, and if at any point you wish to make a comment, please do so. I'd love to hear from you. I did start to turn the wooden polos on the lathe, but soon decided that a much better option would be to machine them on the CNC router. Superglue fixes the polo in the holder so that it can be machined safely. The tool being used is a 1mm bull-nosed end mill. The tool being used here is a 3.175mm end mill. The detail required on each polo was far too great for me and would have taken me hours just to do one polo. The white Corian holder keeps the polo in place and allows me to machine one after another without having to set up any machine access 0 points. On the right hand side of the screen, the machining of the white polos is taking place. The tool being used is a 1mm bull-nosed end mill. To cut out the detail, a very small tool is required. Less detail is required on the other side of the polo and therefore a 3mm bull-nosed end mill is used. Now that all the polos are made, it's time to get on and make all the letters. I 3D printed moulds of all the letters that were required. The different coloured putties were then mixed and applied to the moulds. When hard, they were sanded smooth and then cut out from the moulds, ready to be stuck onto the tube. I'm sticking the letters on with super glue and it's a bit of a fiddly process. I heat the letters up with a hairdryer so that they'll bend round the tube before I stick them down. The process of sticking all the letters on the tube took around about 4 hours. I've stuck all the letters on the tube and filled in all the gaps with the appropriate coloured putty. The tube's now ready for turning. Please consider subscribing and giving me the thumbs up. Thank you. The idea here was to turn the tube down to a smooth surface, revealing all the letters beneath. When I got to this point, I decided to stop turning and sand the tube down by hand, as I wasn't sure about how thick the tube was going to be and I didn't want it breaking up. It was now time to go ahead and make the letters for the traditional type packet. For this I've used two types of wood veneer, black oak for the black letters and for the white letters, sycamore. Both veneers were of standard thickness of 0.6mm, with the black oak being backed with some type of material. I glued a paper backing to both types of veneer before machining, and this gave it extra strength. I was going to use a green wood dye for dyeing the letters, but decided on using felt pen in the end. Another layer of paper backing was then added. The letter sections were then cut out and given a couple of coats of clear automotive lacquer. The smaller letters were then tackled. I had numerous attempts before I actually got it right. I had to make the letter inlays 0.1mm smaller than the actual hole that they were going to fit into. This was also extremely time consuming, and I decided to only put the letters on one side of the tube. The traditional packet tube was the next thing to be assembled. I used superglue to stick down the outside sections of the tube, but this can be quite unforgiving when set because it becomes very hard. The part with the small letters on was extremely hard to force into place around the tube surface. Once the construction of the tube was complete, it was given another couple of coats of lacquer. The aluminium foil was then measured and cut to size and rolled around the polos, which had been held together with a long bolt. A section of the tube was then cut away, which would leave the packet looking like it had been opened and used. foil was then folded and glued to give the impression of a packet of polos that was in use. I really hope you've enjoyed the video and come back to watch part 2, and please leave your comments below. And that's it, just waiting for a bowl to put them in.